welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher, and hopefully you. We say this every single show, but I'll tell you what, it's good. It's a good reminder because this is your show. This is where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us, and we present different topics and we all weigh in on them. And when we leave this brief hour together, hopefully we're a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. I know we say this over and over again, but we have new listeners every single day. So everybody's getting introduced to the Take Two family. And Jerry, the Take Two family is growing.
It is. It is, and we thank you for your listenership. Thanks to the affiliates for airing the program, and of course the show team, Rich, and we've got Jeff, and we've got Michael, and we got a lot of other people at EWTN who help make the program what it is every day. But as Debbie said, you are the ones. You're the key component in this broadcast every day. We just toss a topic out there for you, and your life experiences, your wisdom, your insights, your takes always teach us something, and hopefully you all learn from one another. So that's what we're going to do again today.
We are. And here's the topic for today. Well, actually, it's a question. What spiritual memories do you have from your childhood? Now, think about this for a moment. Y'all grew up in families, we presume, and you got introduced to the faith in your home, which is rightly so. The family is the domestic church. The parents are the primary catechists, so it's a beautiful way to get introduced to the faith. And there's different things that maybe were done uniquely to each family. For instance, maybe you had a Mary garden outside, and you had a beautiful statue of Mary. Maybe you had beautiful religious artwork on the walls. Maybe there were certain prayers or certain family traditions and rituals that you did that you always remember, and they left a real deep mark on you for the rest of your spiritual life. So we want you to kind of take that walk down memory lane and share with us some of the unique aspects of growing up in a Christian home. And Jerry, you actually suggested this topic. You were walking down memory lane yourself a couple shows ago, and you talked about something that when you remember as a child, and you said we should do a show on that. And then I started thinking, wow, I remember things too. So why don't you, for our listeners, share again what you remember from your childhood?
Well, I remember we would gather for family prayer before we went to bed, and we would all face the sofa and kneel facing the sofa, put our little arms or elbows on there and our hands folded, crossed, our heads bowed, and we would pray the "Now I lay me down to sleep" prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And then we would say, God bless Daddy, Mommy, Mary, Jerry, Joe, John, and Jim. God bless aunts, uncles, cousins, and all of our friends. So I still remember the prayer very well, and I'm sure we did other things too. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing we're wondering about. And it could have been maybe a mealtime. Maybe you had a certain way of going around the table and taking turns with the pre-meal prayer. Or, Debbie, a lot of families, what they do at mealtime is they will pray, and then they'll go around the table and share something that happened that day or something they're grateful for. So, dear listeners, we're asking you today, from your own childhood, what are some of the things, maybe one key thing that you recall so vividly that stuck with you, and maybe you've handed that down to your kids, your family.
I'm giggling though, Jerry, because I'm just curious. You and I continue to have this this visual image of all of you kids in the Usher family. Why the sofa? Did you all hang out around in the sofa in the living room or something? Why this? Because there were so many of you.
Well, it was probably just the right height to kneel on and sort of lean on with our elbows or our arms. Yeah, I think it was just the right height. You know, the youngest probably had to reach way up like this or something. Yeah. You know, but
that is precious. Do you have any pictures of that, or is there any? No.
Well, I've got a photo album full of pictures from my youth, the earliest age on up, but I don't think any pictures of that were taken.
Wow. That's very cool.
What about
very
you?
Cool. We had a gigantic picture in the hallway, prominently placed, of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and my mother loves this the image of the Sacred Heart, and it was right in the hallway, so we would see it coming in as soon as we entered the home, as soon as we left the home. It was right outside my bedroom. Actually, it was when I was little, It used to look like it was the eyes of Jesus were following, you down the hallway. And so it would kind of, it wasn't scary or anything, but it always stuck with me. But we also had a Mary garden, a beautiful statue of Mary. We always took pictures by the Mary garden. I loved that as well. We had crucifixes, and we came from a religious family. My grandmother was very religious. My uncle, a priest, my aunt, a Dominican sister. So we had all these religious items throughout the home, and I think that's what you made me think about this, Jerry. I think that's why I decorated my whole entire home with religious, spiritual artwork. Simply because of that. I think I was used to that as a child. So how about you, the Take Two family? What about you? Do you have those images when you were a child and now they have stuck with you and you've passed them down to your children, your grandchildren? We want to hear from you. 833-288-3986. That's 833-288-EWTN.
Other ways you can contribute to the conversation. You can text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a quick little sounder that you'll hear, and you'll be prompted to put your first name in and your comment or your take. We're also streaming the video live on YouTube and Facebook, so you can post your comments there. But just asking you, what has stuck with you? Maybe you didn't have a lot of faith formation growing up, and you sort of adopted it yourself. Maybe as a child you'd get into your bedroom and do some prayers of your own, or it could be any of the things that Debbie mentioned, or anything that, like I said, that your family did by way of spirituality. And those are the kinds of things that stick with us into adulthood. And maybe you didn't have a lot of religiosity or prayer when you were growing up, but you adopted it, and now you're creating your own memories for your children or your grandchildren. 833-288-3986 is the number. Debbie, lines are filling up, and they're going to be full here pretty soon. So.
I believe so. So please don't hesitate. If you want to share something about your childhood and the impact what you grew up seeing on a daily basis in your home has impacted you in your spiritual life into your adulthood, we'd like to hear from you. We can learn from this. There are young families getting started that would love to be able to incorporate some of these family traditions and rituals in the home. So will you help us? 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Please weigh in on this and share your spiritual memories from your childhood.
All right.
It's going to be exciting, Jerry.
It is. We're going to start with Barbara in just a minute. We've got other calls being screened by Michael, and one open phone line, which, as Debbie says, if you're prompted by the Spirit, get on board with your take on this topic. We're all going to learn and come away better and more spiritually grounded, God willing, on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're asking you today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, what spiritual memories do you have from your childhood? So when a line becomes open, please jump on the phone. We want to hear from you. You are important. 833-288-EWTN. Just real quickly, Jerry, EWTN News Nightly with Lauren Ashburn. Tonight, 9 Eastern Time. If you want the news from a Catholic perspective, you want it done well, please listen to EWTN News Nightly or watch EWTN News Nightly. It's phenomenal. You're going to understand what's happening and today's current events and everything that's happening in the Catholic world, which is very important. We should always stay informed, Jerry. I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah, and if I can just tag on to that, Debbie, I really encourage people to watch News Nightly. They are not shying away from the horrific, scandal, sex abuse scandal situation that's going on, reporting it very, very thoroughly and objectively, but also at the same time presenting the reality of the church and the priesthood and the beauty of the office of the priesthood and the holiness of the church in her essence. And a lot of other media outlets, it's just piling on. They're reporting, the fact that there were sins and crimes committed, and we need to know that. But News Nightly is reporting that, but also helping faithful Catholics to hold on to their faith, whereas a lot of other media outlets may not be. So, folks, really do tune in, 9 Eastern Time, EWTN News Nightly, every night on EWTN Television.
Okay, as promised, we're going to Barbara, who is first up in Ann Arbor, Michigan on Ave Maria Radio. Way to go, Barbara. I'm so glad you got in there so quickly. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you. I'm hurrying because I'm calling first because I take care of my dad, who's 94, who is a retired Protestant pastor. So I grew up in a Protestant home, but we really, really love the Lord. And my earliest memory was of my big sister. When I was 3 years old, she was 7. Asking me if I wanted Jesus in my heart. And I said yes, and she led me through a prayer, and my life has never been the same. Mary came to be with me and brought me into the Catholic Church at age 60, and I can see how she has been with me my whole life, helping me and keeping me true to the faith. And it's been wonderful, but I'm so thankful for being raised in a Christian home and for a sister with whom I had wonderful, wonderful fellowship my whole life.
Wow. Beautiful story, Barbara. I'm curious, did you say 16 or 60 that Mary led you into the Catholic
60.
Church? 60.
60.
Well, just a brief moment, tell us a little bit more about that, because you said you realized Mary had been with you your whole life, but at the age of 60, she kind of got through to you and convinced you that the Catholic Church is where you belong. Were there any particular experiences that you had that contributed to that?
Absolutely. Somebody sent me a plastic rosary in the mail as a fundraiser for a school out west. And I thought it was evil. I thought it was a Catholic Ouija board. And so I went on the internet, and I was going to get this thing out of my house. Went on the internet and downloaded the prayers, and I started reading. Of course, the creed was wonderful, and of course, the Our Father, we prayed. And I started reading, Hail Mary, full of grace. And I was surrounded by the most wonderful presence of a powerful female who was very loving and just let me know that she had always known me my whole life and that she loved me. And from that moment on, I couldn't stay away from the Catholic Church. I went and sat in the back, actually next to Mary, because she was the only one there I knew with a statue. So
wow.
It was wonderful.
Well, Barbara, welcome home. Welcome home. And to have that encounter, with your mother, the Blessed Mother, I mean, how incredibly precious is that? And to think about it, Barbara, think about it. When you first were handed that plastic rosary, it was foreign to you. You wanted it away from you. And when you researched it, which I think is the beautiful thing of the rosary, because it's scripturally based. And so with you being in a Protestant home, I'm sure you went through the Bible every single day with your dad. Exactly. So all of a sudden, those things that were foreign to you, all of a sudden you started to relate to. And then you have this beautiful personal encounter with our mother who loves us so very much. Wow. You're blessed, Barbara. Absolutely blessed.
I am, and I've always loved Mary, and I always knew she was the new Eve. She was the Ark of the New Covenant. I've always known that. So I think she was speaking in my ear. So
Sounds like she was.
Thank you for letting me share. I got to make that lunch.
Okay, Barbara. God bless you. God bless your dad. What's his first name so we can put you both in our prayer book?
His name is John.
Okay.
And the fellowship we've had in this last few years since I've been caring for him has been wonderful.
What a gift. What a gift you're both to each other. Thank you, Barbara. We'll pray for you and John. And what a great month for Mary this month. It's not a month of Mary like May, but we have the Feast of the Assumption and tomorrow the Queenship of Mary. So Mary is all through the liturgical year, just like she's all through the Bible. Okay, Martha is next in Charleston, West Virginia, listening on St. Paul Radio to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Martha. Tell us about something you remember spiritually from your childhood.
Hello. I think this is a really great and interesting topic. As I sat here pondering on what exactly anecdote I was going to relate, more and more started to come up. And I'm 62 and, of course, was raised in the Catholic Church, but all my catechism kind of time to that happened when everything was real floppy, and kind of loose and no reasons given, just a bunch of rules. So there were lots of Catholic, there were crucifixes and the palms and Marys and pictures in my house. But the one that seemed to be, if you would call the patron saint of our house, of 8 people, 6 kids, 2 parents, 9 people, and a grandma, was St. Jude. Now, take from that what you will. But at the bottom of the staircase that went up to the bedrooms, my mother had a console table and a beautiful Italian plaster statue of St. Jude. Well, with 6 rambunctious children, I think you can put together what happened to St. Jude more than one time. He was sadly martyred. He fell off the table and his head would fall off. So my father, being a faithful guy, would carry him very respectfully down to the basement, apply the Duco cement, and replace St. Jude very tenderly back on the console table and just hope and pray that the kids didn't run into the table and knock him off again.
Wow. So St. Jude took a beating from your family, but still came back glued together.
St. Jude has taken a beating from a lot of people.
Years.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, well, there you go. He stayed there until my parents died, and the house was closed, and then he went on to another incarnation. So,
wow.
There were so many things that just brought up for me. A beautiful personal rosary made for me by an Italian immigrant in our parish. Beautiful, that my mom presented to me. Lots of things like that. So this is a really interesting topic that's enjoyable to hear other people's memories.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. So let me ask you this question. Do you have a St. Jude, a picture, statue, icon, anything around you as an adult?
Not as an adult. I've got St. Rock, and I've got St. Peregrine, and I've got, of course, St. Christopher.
Okay. Well, maybe you got to introduce St. Jude. I was thinking as you were talking, Martha, I was kind of chuckling again because you think about all these statues that have been glued together. That would be a great show to do, of how many glued statues we have. At least you're lucky though, because my mother got tired of gluing things together. She then began to tape them together. So when we got So when we got them as children, they had this tape, and so their arm would be hanging off with tape or something like that. But what I love about your story and everybody else's is the respectfulness of these beautiful religious items. I'm sure most of them were blessed because back in the day we had them blessed regularly. And so it's just a beautiful way to show how reverent we are, especially as Catholics. And I think it's a wonderful thing. So I'll take the taped ones, the glued ones. I'll take any broken ones, because it had meaning behind it. What do you think, Jer?
No, I agree. I love your comment there, Debbie, about the reverence that we show, and a lot of people, especially non-Catholics, are probably thinking, oh, all this idolatry and stuff, but really it isn't. We it's like having a photograph of a family member. We put a picture of a saint on the wall or a statue or something. It's to remind us of the road that they traveled, and they are there to inspire us to travel that same road as well. So, Martha, even if you don't have a statue of St. Jude in your home right now, he is indelibly etched in your mind and your heart. It's obvious of that. So thank you, Martha, for sharing that with us. Okay.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Okay. Beverly is up next in Pennsylvania on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Beverly. Thanks for waiting, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi there. Thank you for having me, Jerry and Debbie, and thank you for having such a wonderful show.
Oh, thank you, Beverly.
I wanted to share about my mom. When I was young, my mom passed away. I was 12 years old, and her funeral was on my 13th birthday. I was the oldest of 4 children, and she had a brain aneurysm at age 39. So it was a very sudden and unexpected thing, and a very difficult thing to deal with as a little girl, the death of your mom. And the irony is, however, that my faith formation came from my mom. So I'm now nearly 60 years old. All my lifelong faith formation occurred in those first 12 years. Pretty much everything that my mom did, born and raised Catholic. Her godfather happened to be a bishop. And so she had a very strong faith tradition and faith understanding. But the most significant was that she would always take me to family funerals, take all of us children. But I can remember that through her exposing us during family funerals to the concepts of everlasting life, heaven, living with God. For one example, when my great-grandfather passed, I was only 4.5 years old. This is my dad, on my dad's side. My mom took us to the funeral, and I remember my pop-pop, who was a coal miner in Pennsylvania, had lost a couple of fingers and didn't have very good teeth, and wore one of those great big hearing aids in his pocket that went up to his ear and would buzz all the time. And as a little girl, she brought me up to his coffin and showed me his body. We touched his body. We said a prayer for him, and she explained that in heaven he would have his fingers back, and he would have his teeth back, and his ears would be good. So little ways like this that she taught me about death, about the transition, which death is a transition, were so useful to me. Were amazing how she prepared me to deal with her own death when she didn't have any idea that was going to happen in her life.
Right, right. Yeah, that is absolutely, it's profound, Beverly, what you're sharing. And I think, parents have to be obviously sensitive to what their children are able to handle. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, death is part of life, if I can put it that way. We're all going to have relatives, friends, people that we know, neighbors who are going to pass away. And like I said, if the children are able to take it, then I think it was beautiful that your mother not only took you to the funeral, but took you up to your grandfather's casket and let you view him, let you see him, let you touch him. But also then she explained a little, used it as a catechetical moment, Debbie. She told Beverly about, what heaven is going to be like. And that had to be consoling, Beverly, for you, I'm sure. And like she said, Debbie, the fact that when her mother's funeral came around when she was 12 years old, she had been through that experience before. That had to be at least some consolation, some help at that moment.
Right. My heart just breaks for you, Beverly, as the oldest of your family and in such a young age to have lost your mother suddenly. There's just no words that could even describe what that must have felt like for you as a preteen. But you remember her in such a deep way, and when she has left such a spiritual impact on you. And see, that's what I think the beauty of it is, as parents, how quickly we can leave an impact on our children, even if we're only with them for 12 years or 13 years. So, Beverly, we would be so honored if you would give us your mother's first name so we can enter her into the Take Two family book. Can you impart to us her first name?
Absolutely. Her name is Elaine.
Elaine.
And
Beautiful.
I appreciate that you would pray for her. Thank you very much.
Well, and your entire family. I mean, what a beautiful family. And your mother was incredible. I mean, and it's heartbreaking when you hear stories like this, because you want people to have their family for a long time. But we have our faith for eternity, and your mother planted those beautiful seeds, and we're never disconnected from our loved ones. We're constantly connected, and then for all of eternity we get to look forward to that. So, Beverly, you're a precious soul. Thank you so much for blessing our conversation today.
Yeah, thanks, Beverly. Have a beautiful day. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Tara, we're going to get to you next. We have David and Deacon Dan and Alice and Ken. Today we're talking about spiritual memories or experiences that you recall from your childhood. Growing up, it could have been a family tradition, prayer. It could have been, like Debbie said earlier, a Mary garden, artwork up on the walls. Just something that you did as a family that has stayed with you. Maybe you're passing that down to your own kids. These are the kinds of things that go from generation to generation. If you'd like to get that open phone line, it's 833-288-3986.
Obvious on Take Two today with the discussion we're having that parents play a huge role in setting the environment for children to grow in their faith. So it's a beautiful thing we're learning today. And so, as Jerry said, we're going to go to Tara in Ontario, Canada, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Tara. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Thank you for waiting. And so what's your childhood memories?
Well, my first childhood memory, I actually, was very small, and my parents, they were children of Italian immigrants, and we were quite poor. So my mom, after she had me, I was basically almost, kept and raised by my grandmother while she was at work. And my first memory was sitting in my grandmother's lap and having, she'd be bent over me, and she had a medal of Mary, a gold medal. And at first I was too small. I didn't realize what it was. But as I got older, it was always such a memory of comfort, because it was always kind of tickling, and, you're sitting in her lap. And it just always kind of, every time I see an image of Mary now, it seems like, being held, being, taken care of. Other things in the house that would, kind of trigger, good feelings, or just strong love would be, we had an old nativity set that I would, as a young child, I would go over and have the stories told to me. There was a rosary that I wasn't sure what it was for when I was younger. But again, all these things kind of tie in, and you really go back to those memories. And it just kind of strengthens you, even though you don't think of it as a time as something special, but it does spark something very deep within you.
Right. Right, and as you and all the other callers are talking, Tara, I'm just reminded that, a couple of things, couple of very real principles. One, obviously, as kids, we're like sponges. We just soak up everything that we see, everything that we're told. That's just the nature of kids. We're wired that way. And when parents, especially, and in this case, your grandmother, do that, it's almost like it's like gospel, and we just take it in. And that's, of course, true with the good and the bad. And that's the importance of parenting, and especially, as Debbie said, handing on those spiritual principles and the truths of the faith, and developing a relationship with God and with Jesus, and in your case with Mary at a very young age. So, yeah, Debbie, this is just all of these calls are just really proving what we were talking about here, that the parents have such an important role, especially in setting that foundation for the future adult development and practice of one's Catholic faith.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know what, Tara? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, well, just visually, I'm a very visual person. I might not express myself that well verbally, but these visual, symbols that I took in, I can't tell you how strong they've stayed with me. I might not have understood them at first, but then as you grow and it's explained, and you get the complete, the visual and the teachings behind it, it's just very powerful.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. And that's why if you've listened to the show on a regular basis, you would have heard us say, especially when we talk about formation for our children, to have these blessed items, these blessed rosaries, these medals, these sacramentals that allow us to remember in so much of our faith, but also to bring such incredible comfort to us. That's why it's important for parents maybe to have blessed medals and give them to your children as they start the school year, and say, just put them in your pocket. If you don't want to wear them, okay, put them in your pocket, or put them, in your backpack, or attach them. I know some families that attach them to their backpacks. But look how it made an impact for you, Tara, and that's why we want to encourage conversations like this, so that others start to adopt these things. So it helps people grow in their faith. It helped you grow in your spiritual life and in your faith, and that's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for sharing your childhood memories with us.
Appreciate it, Tara. Have a great day in Ontario. God bless you.
You too. Take care.
Okay, childhood spiritual memories, faith formation when you were young. David next, listening Crestline, Ohio on Living Bread Radio. David, thank you for listening and calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I am great. Thank you both. I want to say thank you both for resurrecting a memory in me today that I had totally forgotten about. Mm-hmm. I was listening to your show, and I just started thinking back, what do I remember from growing up? I was raised by my grandma. I'm getting real emotional right now just remembering. But I was raised by my grandmother. My brother and I both were. And we were raised Protestant, Pentecostal, and she had the most beautiful picture of Jesus hanging up. And I cannot remember which saint it was, maybe Faustina, that was told to resurrect or depict an image of Jesus with the blue light and the white light. coming from his heart. Was that Faustina or Therese?
Divine mercy image.
Red and white rays, yeah.
Divine mercy, yes.
Yeah, right.
Well, she had this huge portrait of that divine mercy, portrait of Jesus, and she was Pentecostal, had no idea that it was a Catholic image. And I just became Catholic 3 years ago. But this is connecting so many dots. I mean, just that from that portrait, his eyes followed me everywhere growing up, and it used to creep me out when I was little. But I just thank God for that portrait. Maybe that portrait led me to my Catholic faith all along, that he was standing there telling me, hey, this is what you need to do. And it just blessed my heart so much.
Well, it introduced
Thank you for bringing that up.
But David, here's the thing. What it did is it introduced you. It allowed you an invitation to enter into that relationship, and that's the beauty of it. I think who was it that was it Martha who said about getting the Barbara who said about the rosary. Remember when she first got the rosary, it was foreign to her, but guess what? When you're introduced to the beauty and the relationship of our faith, then it makes complete sense. And look how you tapped back into that beautiful image of Jesus. I have to ask you a couple things. I have a Jesus I Trust in You Divine Mercy image, and it does have the white and the red and the blue rays. Mine has the blue rays, which is very interesting because normally it's the red and white. But so I probably have a similar image. I'm wondering, did you ever does any of your family members still have that image? Where did that end up?
I could ask my aunt. I really haven't thought about it for 20 years now. I am going to start asking around and seeing if it's still around somewhere, because I would love to have it. Yeah. But I have no idea where it went. She passed away in 2004, I think. So I'm sure that one of our family members have it, I hope.
Okay, so after the show, Jerry and I are going to pray to St. Anthony, that St. Anthony finds that image for you, because it needs to go back to you. It needs to go to you, David.
Well, I really appreciate all your prayers, and thank you both so much for listening to God and living your life in faith the way that you do. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you, David. God bless you. Have a beautiful day, and we appreciate you calling the program. Yeah, we can certainly hope, Debbie, that whoever has that image right now, it's having the same effect on them as it did on David, even if they are not Catholic at this point. I want to just mention that on Facebook, Joyce said when the extended family would get together at Grandma's for holidays, we would sing "We Gather Together" as our meal prayer. I was brought up in a Protestant household. And Debbie, we've got some other comments there as well.
We do. So, but you're going to have to help me out because my screen is not working as fast as yours.
Okay. Marion from Ontario, Canada. We had a big picture of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in our home in Sri Lanka. This is Stand Tall, Marion, I believe. Mm-hmm. And the oil lamp was lit 24/7. And my mother used to buy the oil to keep the lamp burning even before we bought our groceries. But thank God we always had enough to eat, and the Sacred Heart of Jesus was with us every step of the way. Thank you, Marion, for sharing that.
I wonder if that's the same image that we had growing up, because that image is so powerful. It does. The eyes watch you.
Yeah, well, that's the best kind of image to have of Jesus, with his eyes never leaving you, I guess. Exactly.
You don't ever want to do anything wrong, that's for sure. Okay, Deacon Dan, we're so glad you're joining us in Denver, Colorado on the EWTN Online. That's how you're listening. Hi, Deacon. Welcome to Take Two.
Thank you, my friends. This is indeed a first memory. I was 2.5 years old when my 36-year-old mother grabbed me by the hand and walked me to our parish church, Holy Rosary Slovak, on the south side of Chicago, so we could pray the Stations of the Cross. She was 5 months pregnant with my younger brother, Rene, and we had 11 in our family, 11 children. She was a trooper and a devout Catholic, needless to say. So was my dad, for that matter. But that is my first memory. My mom was a construction worker. She was pouring a foundation for my faith, and she did this with all 11 children. What a blessing. our mothers are and fathers. It really brings home the necessity of a intact family for Christians and for the world in general.
Right. Deacon, I'm curious. First of all, thank you for your vocations. I presume you're married, and your vocation as a deacon. Thank you for your yes to that. 11 kids in your family. There have to be just countless spiritual memories that you and your siblings share. I'm just wondering, are there any other vocations, religious, priestly, or religious vocations of the other 10 siblings?
Yes. My oldest sibling is a priest, retired.
Beautiful.
And we've all been faithful to the church and gotten more so as we've gotten older. That's a good thing.
It is. Yeah, Debbie, I'm sure that's music to your ears, having been in religious ed and so much for so many years. The importance of the parents not only being faithful, but living that faith and just, displaying that for kids. Kids learn a lot more, I think, by just observing than they do by being told things.
Right. Well, here's the incredible thing of your story, Deacon, is that you said that's your first memory at 2.5 years old. So many of us cannot remember. I mean, we barely can remember anything at that age. And and that was at such an impact. And see, this is why when we are introduced, as you know, Deacon, when we're introduced to the divine, when we are in that beautiful intimate presence of our Lord, and we are meditating on his life, his ministry, his death, his resurrection, I mean, it's going to leave an impact. And it did on you at 2.5 years old. Wow. That's incredible for you to remember that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Was there anything else you'd love to impart to us? And I want to echo what Jerry said. Thank you for your vocations as well. I mean, you sound like you come from a beautifully blessed family. So I'd love to hear any parting words before you get back probably to things you need to do.
Thank you both, and my blessings upon you and your program, all the people who work behind the scenes, and our listeners, of course. God bless you all.
Thank you, Deacon Dan. Appreciate that so much. 833-288-3986. Spiritual faith memories that you learned as a child, you carry forward into your adult life. Debbie Joan on Facebook said that we did the same thing, smiley face. We knelt in front of the couch as a family and prayed the rosary. So that's the same thing that my family did.
Same thing as your family.
Yeah, Beth said, as a child, I loved reading my little golden book about God.
Yeah.
I also had the picture of the guardian angel helping the two children get home. I used to look at it as I fell asleep. Thank you, Joan and Beth on Facebook.
Me too.
Facebook.
And our friend Tim says, mine is kind of a miracle. My grandmother was sick with something along the line of the flu. She just happened to look at an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that we had hanging above the door in the living room, and she looked up and she was healed from the illness, from the flu. Next thing you know, she had called his mom and said she was hungry. I guess you get healthy. You're healthy. You know you're healthy when you're hungry. Tim, that is an amazing, miraculous story. But here's the interesting thing. Our Lady of Guadalupe, so many have said, the image is such a powerful image, and she's the patron saint of the diocese here of Phoenix, and we have the image everywhere here in Phoenix, and we love it. It's just it brings you great comfort because she's in the image, she's pregnant with our Lord, and how incredible that is. So yeah, great stories.
Reminds me of the miracle of one of Jesus' healings in the Bible. Remember, he says, "Give her something to eat," after he had healed the little girl. So. All right, we're going to go back to your calls to Coleman, Alabama. Alice next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie has us tuned in on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Alice.
Hi. Guys are wonderful, and they're wonderful talks, wonderful, wonderful. But what I'd like to share today is when I was about 8 years old, I went to Catholic school, and this was towards the end of the Second World War. So the teachers talked a lot about prayer. So it was very, very much a part of me. But walking to school one day, and I walked about 1.5 miles in the Kansas wind, and I got to the top of the hill, and I was cold. And I told God, I said, I really would like to have a new coat. This one is getting really tight. It was a pretty little thing. It was called a poodle coat. But when the little thing got wet, it smelled like a wet dog. And the wool in the leggings had lost all their flannel. So the leggings scratched your legs, and it was cold and it scratched. So anyway, I asked God in just a childlike way, I sure would like to have a new coat. Well, I went on to school. I don't think I ever thought another thought about it. But about 2 weeks later, I went to visit an aunt. And I had no more walked in the door. And she said, Alice, Joan has outgrown her coat. I wonder if you might be able to put this on. So I tried it on. It was light blue. It had a red lining, and it had a hood. So that meant I could keep my head warm. It didn't have any buttons, but I knew my mom could fix that. And it was long, so I didn't have to have leggings. I knew God answered prayers. And from that very, very day, I'm now 80 years old. Whenever I pray, I know God's listening to my prayer.
That is beautiful, Alice. What I really believe that pleases God the most is the disposition that you have and that you had as a girl when you said those prayers. You said you just said a short little prayer. It wasn't presumptuous. It wasn't demanding. And I love the way you put it. God, I sure would love to have a new coat. That's a lesson for me, Alice, because I just get so... I don't know. I just kind of get, I don't want to say demanding of God, but just I'm like, God, I want this and I want it now, You've just taught me, I think, a new way to pray. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for that. And your program is beautiful, and I wish you well. And it's just a lot of comfort. I'm by myself now, and I've been fighting cancer for about 3 years, but God's given me the grace and the strength to fight it. I also am raising 2 granddaughters, 18 and 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And asking God to please let me live to get them through college. And I just put her through the first year, and I know He's listening, and if it's God's will, He's going to answer that prayer.
Well, Alice, you can count on the Take Two family to pray for your entire family and for your granddaughters. So please know that, and you're never, ever alone because you have a gigantic family with you. We're with you virtually, but you know what? That's a great way to be with one another because we're there for each other spiritually, and you blessed our day today with your very strong faith and your wonderful experience of relating to God and having those beautiful, the trust you have in God. Alice, you're an incredible woman. We're going to pray you have 80 more years. You got a lot more work to do, Alice. So we're proud of you.
Yeah, and before you go, Alice, like you said, that lesson and throughout your life, you've learned that God answers your prayers. So please keep Debbie and me and the show team and all of our listeners in those beautiful, humble prayers, if you'd be so kind. Would you do that for us?
I'd be glad to, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You,
we love you,
Bless
Alice.
Okay, hey, for those of you who haven't heard about Church Pop, churchpop.com, it is a service of EWTN. So it's reliable, but it has humor, it has serious stuff, it's got quizzes, it has games. It's really one of those kind of cool, neat, hip, today kind of websites. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit unique, and I think you're going to like it. You can sign up free on churchpop.com and get notified every day of what is new and just log on there. In fact, you may have heard this story already. On today's Church Pop, there's a story about the Dominican nun who threw a perfect curveball, the first pitch at a Chicago White Sox game. And also...
It's gone viral. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of other good stuff on there. So go to churchpop.com and sign up and get those notifications every day from EWTN.
I love Church Pop. It comes in at like 4 a.m. It's so awesome. You hear that little ding, and I'm like, it's Church Pop. I just wanted to say, Alice, I hope you're still listening. We've got a text message saying, I love Alice. Alice, I wish she was my grandmother. I do too. We all do. We all love you. And so you're getting prayers already. So I hope you can feel those. And that's a wonderful thing. We're all connected in the body of Christ. Thanks, Alice. Ann in Mansfield, Georgia on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Ann. Thanks for waiting and welcome to Take Two. Hi, Ann.
Hi, Ann.
Hello.
Go right ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Ann.
Hello.
Do you have... Yeah, go ahead and share your childhood experience.
I'm sorry, yeah, I finally heard you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking my call. You have a wonderful ministry. like everyone else had mentioned, a lot of my memories are related to the Rosary and my parents' devotion to Our Lady of Lourdes and the Miraculous Medal, which happened to be the birthday of my dad, November 27th. And we always had the Rosary every evening, and no one was exempted, even the little ones. And I remember sleeping through the Rosary and remembering the older kids who were late. My dad would usually hand them the Rosary so they can begin on their own. And also, the one thing, too, was on our birthdays, my dad and mom would take us early in the morning and take us to Mass. That was the first thing that they would do every, birthday. And also, my dad would wake up at 4 a.m. and would be on his knees with his hands spread with a rosary. So, anyway, with all those things, I know that we have a very huge family, about 13 kids, and every one of us has not been perfect through the years, but we all have come back to the faith because of our parents' devotion to God and Catholic Church.
The image of your father praying early in the morning the rosary, Anne, is very, very powerful for children. I can't even begin to tell you how many times in religious education kids would come to class and they would say, it was the coolest thing to see Dad kneeling and praying the rosary. It was, and kids would be crying about it. They would just, their emotions would well up. They just loved the image of their earthly father praying to our Heavenly Father. And it's the same is true with mothers and when entire families pray together. So, Anne, thank you for calling in today and sharing this, because I was hoping that somebody would tap into this idea that just starting the family rosary together on a regular basis can leave lasting effects on the children's spiritual lives. So God bless you for calling in today, and I pray that other families will start today and make that part of their family prayer regimen.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. Thank you, Anne, for your phone call. We appreciate that. If these are things that you don't do as a family with your kids, it's never too late to start. And as Debbie said at the beginning of this show, and we say really every day on this program, we have these conversations so that we all will learn, and that, maybe there are things that you haven't thought about before implemented in your life. So please, moms and dads, again, it's never too late to start. Teach your kids to pray. It's so very important for their childhood and for their future. Debbie, we have Michelle and Steve and Kevin that we are not going to be able to get to, unfortunately. I feel bad about that, but we do have an email from Maureen that we can close with.
Okay, I just wanted to say, if you guys want to keep the conversation going, you can always email us, take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. And Jerry's going to share how Maureen emailed us on that Take2 address.
Yeah, she says, hi, Jerry and Debbie. When we were in grade school, every summer my brother and I would help our school sisters to clean the school for the upcoming school year. The last grade we helped was my brother was in 6th grade and I was a year behind in 5th. His teacher gave him a gift of a statue of St. Francis that was also a planter. There was a philodendron plant already in it, and he brought it home, and my mother always had it on the windows. That plant never died for years. At least 40 years it must have endured. She says, I love St. Francis to this day, and that memory is the beginning since childhood for me and my brother. Thank you, Maureen, for gracing our day with that memory.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that, Jerry, real quickly. I just have to say, my mother used to have this little statue of the Blessed Mother, and every time it would rain in New Jersey and we'd have thunderstorms, she'd turn the statue facing outward, and she'd go, don't worry, Mary's got it covered. The house is protected. And our house was always protected. Okay, mirror, mirror on the wall. That's what we're talking about tomorrow. Do you feel comfortable looking into the mirror? Are you your own worst enemy? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Have a real discussion about it, so make sure you tell all your friends about Take 2 tomorrow of looking into the mirror.
Yeah, and again, do keep the conversation going. We'd love to hear from you in due time when we can get to it, hopefully within a day or maybe even the same day. Debbie and I try to answer emails. Take2 at EWTN.com. Thanks to the affiliates, to you, our listeners, the show team. For Debbie Georgiani, I'm Jerry Usher. Have a beautiful and blessed day.